Hey guys, it's Blair with RevitAuto, and in this video I'm going to show you how you can diagnose a 2014 Ford E350 with a 5.4 V8 no start issue using the Phoenix Light Scan tool. So the first thing that I do before I go any further with a diagnostic is I just make sure of two things. All the fluids are topped off and the battery has good enough voltage to continue diagnosing. So with the hood popped, we can go ahead and check the transmission and the engine oil. On this vehicle, the transmission fluid is right here. Now you want to have the engine running before you actually check the trans fluid, but at this point what I don't want to have occur is I don't want to have a vehicle that has no transmission fluid in it for whatever reason, and then I try to diagnose and start it up and I end up burning it out. So this is showing here that there is transmission fluid in there, which we know that it's going to be, but the proper way to check transmission fluid is with the vehicle on a flat surface and the engine running. But I still like to make sure that I have transmission fluid in there, and then I'll go ahead and I'll check to make sure that I have engine coolant. So on the driver's side of the engine compartment, you can see your engine coolant. And then I also like to make sure that the engine oil is filled too. So I'll go ahead here, reach my hand in, I'll pull out the dipstick. I'll wipe the dipstick clean initially before I reinsert it so that I can get an accurate reading. Again, you want to check all the fluids to your vehicles when they are at a very smooth and flat surface, because that is going to give you the most accurate reading. So I'm just going to shove the oil dipstick tube back in there. You can see it's got a little yellow handle and it's located on the driver's side of the engine compartment on this 2014 Ford E350. So now I'll go ahead and just pull this out and take a peek, and as you can see here, we are at the perfectly full mark, so I'm very happy with this, and the consistency and the color of the oil is good. So that means that this vehicle had recent service, and now I can go ahead and get into the nitty-gritty. So once I know that I have proper fluids in, I can see what the actual concern is. So we're gonna go ahead and see if we can start the vehicle. So now we're back inside the vehicle, and the first thing I'm gonna do is just try to start it so I can see what the customer's concern is. Key in the on position, I turn off all the accessories, no radio and no heater, and I'll try to start it. So when you have a vehicle that has a no start concern, you need to have three things. You need fuel, you need spark, and you need compression. Now what we just heard here was a healthy compression of a motor where it's spinning over and it just sounds like a sewing machine. You know, that's the sound that your wife makes when she's trying to get you to stop talking and you're like, hey honey, I really need to buy this car part. And she goes, that is the sound that you're looking for. You want that even consistency. If what we had heard was or there was something where it was faster, was then you know that there's some issue with the compression. I know that's a lot of funny stuff and people will make fun of me for it, but that is actually what you're listening for. You want to hear a consistent engine turnover, and that's going to tell you that you have good compression. So now we know that we have good compression. The next two things to check are, do we have fuel or do we have spark? And I'm going to show you the easiest way to do that now. So the first thing is to put the key in the on position and just check to see if it shows any fuel on the fuel gauge. And right now this vehicle is showing that it is super full, like overly full. So we're gonna say that we have gas in there. The next thing to do is to hook up our scan tool and check for codes. Now when you're diagnosing a vehicle, you always want to be checking the easiest things first. The easy things that you check first are typically going to be your issue. There's very rarely a catastrophic failure with a vehicle, especially if the vehicle has been in good service. And since we've been servicing this vehicle for the last few years, I've got a pretty good inclination that the vehicle is going to be in good shape. So I'm going to go ahead and start this TOPDON up, and it takes a little bit for it to get going. And then what I'm going to do is do a screen recording so that you guys can see what I'm doing outside the vehicle and see what's going on with the scan tool at the same time. Alrighty, so I just started recording on the TOPDON app, and this is something that is actually built into the TOPDON system, which allows you to screen record so that you can send these findings to other people. It does make the app move just a little bit slower, but it's going to be better in the long run for you guys at home. And you can also use this feature if you want to send a data screenshot of what you're doing on the scan tool as well. So the first thing I'll do is I'll just click Intelligent Diagnostics, and this is going to go ahead and connect to the VCI, which is right here, and I have the key in the on position. Geez, you know, before I actually came out here, I started updating the firmware, and it's kind of like the basis for how it's supposed to operate. So what's occurring right now is that it is updating via Bluetooth our OBD2 dongle. So we're going to go ahead and fast forward through that for you guys, but this is what is occurring. So we'll go ahead and just see how long it takes for it to update. It should take maybe a minute or two for that to occur. Alrighty, so now we have successfully installed the new firmware. I'll just click OK. The scan tool will connect to the VCI. It will read the VIN number, decode it, and then once we get to that, it will ask us a couple of specific questions that are going to be related directly to this Ford. And we'll go ahead and we'll just click Diagnostic. And you can see all the vehicle information showed up for us here. So we do know that it's 2014 E350. And then it says switch ignition to position 1, which is your on position, not your start position, which we have done. And now the vehicle is going to go through and start diagnosing. So identify the type of radio installed. So you just literally look at the radio, and this is a vehicle with no CD. So right here, AM, FM radio, no CD. It may ask us a couple of other questions, but I think we should be okay. It may ask us what type of tow vehicle it has, but it doesn't. Fantastic. So I'm just going to go ahead and click Health Report, and it's going to go through and scan every single module. Now, as a diagnostic, you love seeing a code because a code sends you in the right direction. But I got a feeling that we're not going to receive a code on this, and we're just going to go ahead and have to do your older school diagnostics in order to be able to see. So you can see here that the PCM was scanned, and there was no concern, right? It's normal, it's showing in green. If it was bad, it showed in red. So I'm going to go ahead and click Enter here, and I'm going to see what's going on with the vehicle data, and I'm going to see what I can actually look at and test. So we're still trying to figure out if we have fuel and if we have spark. We haven't been able to confirm that yet, but the first test that I'm going to do is I'm going to turn on the fuel pump, and I'm going to see if I can hear the fuel pump engage. And if I can hear the fuel pump engage, I'm going to check to see if we have any sort of fuel getting up to the fuel rail. So let's see what happens here in the next few moments, and we'll continue on from there. For whatever reason, sometimes Fords are just a ton longer than all the other vehicles to do this interface for. I'm not really sure why that is, but I have noticed that a couple of times. So we'll go ahead here and we'll go to actuation test. And like I said, for whatever reason, Fords are just a little bit slower on what I've noticed across all the scan tools. And now I'm going to look for fuel pumps. So you can see fuel pumps right here, so I'll click fuel pump. And it says the parameter is output from the ECU to control the fuel pump duty cycle. A fuel pump driver module, FPDM, or a fuel pump relay coil supply the ground for the fuel pump to operate. So I'll go ahead and click OK. And the fuel pump is turned off right now, so I'm going to turn it on and see if I can hear it. And I do not hear a fuel pump, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this scan tool with me, which is Bluetooth, and I'm going to go underneath the vehicle, and I'm going to put my head right against the fuel tank, which is located in the back, and see if I can hear the fuel pump engage with my ear against the tank. And I do not hear the fuel pump engaging. So I do not hear the fuel pump engaging, which means that we do not have fuel. And now we have to figure out why we don't have the fuel pump engaging. Alrighty, so now we are going to test to see the most, when you're diagnosing a vehicle, you always want to start with the absolute basics. So what we're going to do now is we're going to check both the fuse and the relay that's associated with the fuel pump. What I have here is I have the Phoenix light in my hands, and I have it set up so that I can turn the fuel pump on. I'm going to look at relay number 5, which is a micro relay, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and I'm going to put my finger on this, and I'm going to click the fuel pump on and see if I can feel this click. So I'm clicking the fuel pump on and off, but I do not feel this actually clicking. So the next thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to see what is the next fuel pump that I can test, what's the next one that I can take a look at, and see if I can swap it, because these are typically pretty easily swapped. So let me see, let's see here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Fuel pump number 6 is going to be trailer tow park lamp. So let me see if I can get this guy out. Let me go grab a pair of pliers, hold on. All right, so these are super easy to break, just an FYI. So I always say be very gentle. Try to put even pressure, wiggle and pull up gently so you don't break them. So we got this one out. And now I'm gonna go ahead and swap it. And to see if I can get the fuel pump to activate. This is how we're gonna test the relay. So I've reinstalled that, and now I'm gonna try again with the on-off. I do not feel it cycling. And back off. And now the next thing I'm gonna do is just check the fuses. And the fuel pump fuse is a 20 amp fuse. It is fuse number 43. So I'm gonna look at my panel here. This is from the top. I'm gonna find fuse 43, which is, let's see here, fuse 43 is 4 back on this side. So this is fuse 43. So I'm gonna just check this fuse right here and see if the fuse is blown. And now I'm inspecting the fuse here, and this is actually a good fuse. So you see that the bridge is totally fine on the inside, and there's connection going to either side. So this is a good fuse. So we know that we have a good fuse, and we also know that we have a good relay. So now we need to go ahead and continue on with our journey. So I'll go ahead and put the fuel pump fuse back in there, and I've got that relay swapped. So I'll go ahead and just put the other relay back in, because we know now that we're not dealing with a failed relay. So this 2014 E350 is installed with a fuel pump control module, and it's possible that we have a failure to that, which is what controls the grounding for the fuel pump itself, and also communicates back with the ECU. Now normally you'd get a code 2067 or something along those lines that would tell you that there's an issue with that module, but I'm going to slide underneath the vehicle and see if I can locate it, because on an E350 strip chassis they're in a different location than if it was just a regular bodied. So normally they're going to be on the driver's side on the frame rail, and if you have a strip chassis, which is this, it's going to be located on the front of the axle. If it's a standard body, it's going to be located somewhere behind the fuel pump near the spare tire carrier. So sometimes being a mobile mechanic, you don't get to bring all the tools you wish, and I normally have a pin testing toolkit, but now I'm just going to show you how to make a makeshift pin jumping lead toolkit. And what we're going to do here is I'm going to bend these two blue guys and these two yellow guys, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a easy pin jumper using that and then little wires with alligator clips. So I'm just snipping these guys right here down the middle, and then I'm bending the tab back and out of the way. I'll take this tab and bend it back and out of the way. And then I'll have my jumper leads together for testing this. Now, whenever you're pressing a pin and doing a jumper lead setup, you want to make sure that you're being very delicate with the pins, because you don't want to wall out the pins. So now what I'll do is I'll use this pin here as my jumper lead 1. So I'll grab this guy here, and jumper lead 2 I'll take with this guy, and I'll take this piece, leaving the nicer piece in there. And then I'm going to do the same thing, because I'm going to have to supply power and ground to the fuel pump directly. So I'm going to take this guy here, put this on here, and then I'm going to have to take this guy here and put this on here. And what this is going to allow us to do is detect and test what is actually the failure point going on. So I'm going to go ahead, get underneath the vehicle, and put this pin terminal together so I can see what is in fact actually going on. So what you can see here, this is the fuel pump control module harness, and you can see this side here is the ground and this side here is the power, and you'll have a yellow wire, and then you'll have a purple violet wire, and then on the other side you'll have a white wire, and then you'll have a black wire. Now the black wire designation is black with green. The next wire for the ground is going to be your white with brown, and then you're going to have your yellow with gray, and then your violet with green. And those are going to be your wires for the power and for the ground. So this is the ground side, this is the power side, and you can jump them together to see if your fuel pump will turn on and test your fuel pump control module. So I now have my jumper wires connected. I have the violet and the yellow wire together, and then on the other side I have the black and the gray one together, but let me go through, I'll read that to you guys later. So I have my jumper wires done together, you can see, like so, and now I'm gonna go ahead and hook this up and see if I hear the fuel pump turn on. If I hear the fuel pump turn on, then I know that my fuel pump control module is at fault. So I'll go ahead here and just hook this up, and I can hear the fuel pump turn on when I install it. So I'm gonna go ahead, put this in, have the fuel pump run, walk over to the truck, and see if the truck will now start. And as you can hear, the truck is now started. You can see the RPM's up. So what we found to be the problem is that the fuel pump control module is inoperable. So we know that we have power and ground going to the fuel pump control. Sorry, I take that back. No, wait, no, we're right. We now know that we have both power and ground coming out of the electrical harness going to the fuel pump control module. But for some reason, the fuel pump driver module, which is actually what I believe the technical term is a fuel pump driver module, is not actually telling the vehicle that it needs to turn the fuel pump on and allow the vehicle to run. When I did the jumper wire test, the vehicle immediately started and there was fuel pressure being supplied. So we now know that diagnosing this vehicle that we have our spark, we have our compression, and we found the fault with our fuel. And the TOPDON really came into play here because it allowed us to more quickly and easily go through and verify what we were missing inside of our system. So the next thing I'm going to do is just verify that all the stuff for the fuel pump control module looks fine, that there's no frayed wires or anything like that, which I don't think that there are. And then we're going to buy a new fuel pump control module and replace it. So if you want to see how to do that, we'll have a video for you guys on that as well. If you like this video and you want to see more, be sure to smash that subscribe button. We also sell the TOPDON on our website, so if you want to buy one, and if you buy one from us, we'll give you one free diagnostic tip where you can call us and we will remote PC into your vehicle and see what's going on and try to guide you out. That's a $150 valuation, and we want to give that to you absolutely for free with the purchase of a TOPDON Phoenix Lite. I'm Blair with RevitAuto. Thanks for watching, and as always, happy motoring.